evening, everyone, and welcome to ESC. If you're expecting the European Song Contest, prepare to be disappointed. It's the Extreme Scrutiny Club. Every 2 weeks, each of your hosts brings a robot to the table, and we vote as a collective on whether or not it should be immortalized in the arena or cast into the Pit of Oblivion. We are your hosts.
My name is Reira. Hello.
Oliver.
And I'm Mitch. Hi.
And let's be honest, you'd be forgiven for thinking you were on a different show this week, because we are introducing the first ever guest that we have had to ESC.
A guest? What?
Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
A guest, you might say. It's me. Hi. How are you?
Who are you?
Who the hell is this? New podcast. Who dis?
So my name is Sam, or as I'm better known online, Sam Elliott 64. I help run the Robocast podcast.
I am going to say, although I am involved in ESC, the Robocast is one of my favourite podcasts.
Thank you very much.
Full stop, Sam. You do an incredible job.
How?
I bet. See, he's only saying that because I'm here. He's lying, really.
I think all of us here are Robocast listeners. I know I am.
I have to say, having heard the first couple of your guys' episodes as well, you guys have really, impressed me quite a lot. So, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
We're really excited to have you on, Sam.
He likes us.
I do. You guys are great.
Wait, hang on. We have to ask the critical question before we get going, though. Sam, opinions on Detonator?
You had to bring it up. It has its issues. It's not great, is it? Really? I mean, yeah. I have to say, we all had great therapy watching Frenzy beating it to nothingness. Really.
No. Okay, so we don't have a guest this week.
I can't remember who said it, but I think it might have been Arthur Chilcott actually, and I'm sure he said something like it was something wrong with it where it was easier for it to go backwards than forwards. So, obviously, this is very, very early days robots, but I just think that's just amazing.
Basically, essentially, they had the bottom of the chassis was too close into the wheels. So they spent about an hour filing, not the chassis, the wheels.
Oh, for God's sake.
Brilliant. I love it.
I love DGS, and I love their bots, and anyone who knows me will know this fact, but ow.
Don't get me wrong, I don't have anything against the team. I thought they were great entertainment value, but the robots are very interesting.
We'll just let the audience know that about 5 minutes before we started this podcast, we talked about going a whole week without mentioning DGS and any of their robots. And we are barely 2 minutes into the podcast, and we are already on the DGS robots. So let's bring things back on track, if I may.
You mean we're not a podcast celebrating the DGS series of robots? That's not what we do here?
Detonator went in the pit, Frenzy went in the arena. Let's just leave it at that. The observant among you may have noticed that because we have a guest on this week, that's going to kind of make things difficult when it comes to voting. There's potential for a tie here. But we have also noticed that. So there's a slight format change going into this week. This week, I will be stepping back and taking on a sort of referee role. I will be fact-checking the other podcast members and just generally trying to keep the conversation rolling. And as usual, I will be operating as the time man.
But you're the evil one. How's that going to work?
And if the Bergs show up, you throw them out.
And I'll do my best, or I'll just send Tim a message.
Drop Tim a line.
Tim, help!
But we haven't yet told the audience what we're actually discussing this week.
It's robots from DTS. No, what?
No.
This week we are talking about the worst flippers from all of Robot Combat, and we are going to try and get them into the Pit of Oblivion.
I'm looking forward to this. I genuinely can't wait.
Should be flipping great.
Well, in fairness, when I think it was Oliver who messaged me in the first place and said, do you want to come and do this and talk about the worst flippers, there was one robot that sprang to mind immediately. And I'm so happy that I'm about to talk about it.
Since you're so eager, Sam, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Oh.
Yeah.
Right, let's get this rolling. So you will have 3 minutes on the clock to tell us what your robot is and why we should put it in the pit.
Yeah, okay.
Your time starts now.
So my robot is from Series 4 of Robot Wars, and it is Bolt from the Blue. Now, I will say one thing. It actually looks very nice. It's a very, angled, aggressive-looking machine. However, my compliments end there. The lifter, I mean, I think it can only fire 12 times in a fight, which is a bit weedy. And it didn't flip anything over. It was slower than tectonic plates. And I was willing to forgive all of it because I personally think it should have beaten Firestorm. Flame away in the comments, by all means. I could have forgiven all of it until the guy on the team, he was so salty. I have never, ever seen a guy, like, even the interview after the fight is just, like, so bitter. I get it, you probably should have won, but let it go. It just didn't interest me. As I say, it was just very, very poor for me. It just didn't do anything in the arena which made me think, you know what, this is worthy of a place in the next round or anything else, really. Credit to them. They drove it fairly well. It didn't break down. It kept going, but imagine being in the crowd for that fight. I'd have lost my head. It would have been the end for me. I don't really have anything more to say, really, because it's just that bland, really. It just doesn't do it for me, and I just think it's very, very worthy of a place in the Pit of Oblivion.
We open it up for debate, then.
Okay, I am more than happy to actually swoop in about this straight away and go that it is a bit difficult reacting to the loss times, and I give James Proctor, the team captain, I give him credit for not being worse than he was, but as we discussed on the very first episode of ESC, come on, yo, like, take a loss slightly better than that. However, fun fact about Bolt 2, despite being utter shite, it was picked to be one of the steel counterpieces for the Robot Wars board game I had as a kid.
Yeah, I've got it too.
Why? Why?
I will add that means it gets more physical merchandising appearances than Behemoth.
Oh, for God's sake. I will say one thing about Bolt from the Blue. I did love... I can't remember what it was. It was a couple of years ago now, but I think it might have been the guy from the team. I can't remember exactly, but one of them. They had a cake made for them for their birthday. I don't know if any of you saw this.
Yep.
If someone can find this and put it in this video, it would be amazing.
I've literally got it up right now.
Excellent. That's fantastic. And it literally just says, it's just the Bolt from the Blue. I think it's modelled on the cake. I can't remember exactly. And it just says underneath, it just says still bitter.
So apparently it was his wife, and she said that she made it because he's still hilariously bitter about it. This was about 2 years ago.
15 years ago. This is 15 years old. Come on.
I put it in Discord. This is the cake.
Oh my God.
This cake alone is the only redeeming feature of this whole robot. I'm not even joking. Like I want it so badly to go in the Pit of Oblivion, but like this cake is the only thing that makes me want to think, do you know what? It's worth saving. There's something salvageable out of this.
I kind of want this to be the shortest ever ESC debate here because there are no redeeming factors that I can think of. And again, I mean, I will remind the audience again that we here at ESC and our guests as well, we're not, armchair builders. We're not here slating off the robot. We do this for the purpose of debate.
Yeah, the fact that they managed to build a machine, with a pneumatic flipper back in 2000 or 1999, something like that, whenever it was filmed, is crazy. And the fact they managed to put it all together and get it into Robot Wars and then nearly beat Firestorm, which, let's face it, was a finalist the year before, is a massive effort. And, fair play to them for that. But just the robot itself just does nothing for me. It's slow. It doesn't have power. It doesn't have a good weapon, and it hurts me.
Would you like to know the list of robots that join Bolt from the Blue as pieces for the Robot Wars board game?
I would love to.
I just want you to picture Bolt from the Blue being compared to these robots for a moment. So I'm going to go in escalating. So suicidal tendencies.
Okay.
Destructor bubble. So we're looking at sort of, mid-card, not sort of massive winning robots, but again, not robots that are exactly crap. Chaos 2, Panic Attack, and Razor.
Why is it here?
Why is Bolt from the Blue here?
Maybe it was an apology from the producers.
An apology?
Sorry we eliminated you. Have this.
Oh, see, now I want the Bolt from the Blue cake, but photoshopped with, we'll put you in a board game.
Sorry.
It's not unheard of. There were rumours around the end of Series 7 that Storm 2 were awarded the Third World Championship as an apology for the main competition.
And I've heard a lot of people saying that Ming Dynasty was seeded because of what happened in Series 5 with Matilda blowing up their rear end against Terahertz when they had to fight one.
And we all know about the fact that Frenzy was given a free win against Detonator, so the Americans free
well
win.
Deserved. Good win. That was solid.
Yeah, it was. Okay, I'm just going to slide in here about Bolt from the Blue. I'm not going to defend it, but honestly...
What's to defend?
You're not going to defend it. Good. That's the right answer. Well done, Mitch.
But I do want to make a few points, because I think we need to talk a bit about the Firestorm fight. It's okay saying, all right, okay, Firestorm wins or whatever, but I actually rewatched the fight earlier. I think Firestorm deserved that victory.
No.
Yes, Bolt from the Blue got a few flicks in. I say flicks because, good God, that lifter is so bloody slow.
Flips very lightly.
But the thing was, it was literally like a rock slowly turning and a bloody mouse constantly attacking it. Didn't get any flips in. I saw the wedge go under slightly, but then he just backed off, which was a bit of a shame, because I think if I'd managed to get under it then, of course, that's the end of the story. But Bolt from the Blue really frustrates me because it could have looked so much nicer. And here's a picture to prove why. This was for the qualifiers.
Why did they change it?
I don't know. And this is the thing. They lost in the qualifiers to Iron Ore, a blow from the axe, and that was it.
How?
Gilbert
First
Grimm.
of all.
Gilbert Grimm, the king of all robots, according to Series 8.
I mean, did you see Iron Ore 1? That thing was questionable as well. How did it lose to Iron Ore? Iron Ore 1? God. Man, this thing doesn't even deserve to be on this list. This thing, like, why are we even discussing this?
I think the thing that I've loved most about the ESC podcast, now that we're a good few episodes in, is the fact that I've learned so much about robots that genuinely, why? There's some fancy robots in episode 3 that we spoke about. Towering Inferno being one. And as much as it was pretty cool, I'm pretty sure I say in the episode just why? Who thought of this and how and why?
But at least it was somewhat decent compared to this.
Yeah.
Compared to Bolt from the Blue, like, I'd call Leebot decent compared to Bolt from the Blue.
Well. Like, Bolt from the Blue didn't even do anything in the melee either. That was Ming. Ming threw Detonator over.
Leebot made it through the British Bulldog.
Bolt from the Blue would have definitely come last in the British Bulldog. I mean, you see how slow that thing was.
No, because Detonator was in there and forgot his batteries.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the thing, right? You lost to Iron Ore, and then the producers go, you know what? Your bot looks cool. We're going to give you a discretionary place into Series 4. And then you change how it looks. You make it, like, still a sleek shape, but all the colours gone.
we've given you a piece in our board game.
And then that's what you do. It's just...
I get the feeling, like, I'm gonna monologue slightly. Not monologue. I'm gonna do a thing here. I have this feeling that the producers saw original Bolt from the Blue and went, "This is awesome. We love this. We really can't wait to have this on. We're gonna call up the board game guys right now because we know this is gonna be great." And then they turned up with a different robot.
Oh.
It would be like you seeing Plunderbird 1 in Season 1, when Plunderbird 1 was genuinely really f***ing cool, and, like, did everything. A bit naffly, but did everything. And going, that's awesome, we're going to make toys of this, we're going to be great with this, and then they turn up with, what was it, Plunderbird 4, that was the one that just did fucking nothing?
Thunderstorm.
Thunderstorm, that's the one.
The thing is with Bolt from the Blue as well, right? Like, you look at it from the outside, okay, and you think, do you know what? This actually looks fairly decent. It's a really low machine to the floor. It's got a wedge lifter. You think, okay, this actually might be quite decent. And yet, it just, no.
It did nothing.
We have any redeeming features from Bolt from the Blue at all?
No.
The cake.
No.
The cake.
The board game piece.
The
In
cake
that
and the
case,
board
I
game.
think it might be worth us moving on to voting if we cannot find anything to say. I feel like we should best call it here.
I think I just want to put the fact that I think the board game piece Bolt from the Blue could beat the regular Bolt.
Oh.
I think me with my bare fists could beat Bolt from the Blue, to be honest.
I think anything good. I think let's give Moist Pony a go.
Oh my!
Oh yes, please. Granny's Revenge.
Jesus Christ.
Gets
This is
When are we seeing Granny's Revenge versus Bolt?
When are we seeing Granny's Revenge on this podcast? That's what I want to know.
Give it time.
Stop Simon Harris and get Bolt from the Blue and Granny's Revenge on Continuation Wars at RoboNerd this year.
Oh, good.
Oh my god.
Because if anyone out there is willing to build a blue beetle weight, I'm willing to pay up to £5 to see it fight.
up to and including £5.
Yeah, up to and including £5. Can we condemn Bolt from the Blue now?
I'm not even gonna slamming my fist on my desk and going, Pit that bit. Why? Why did you build this?
Okay, calm down. It's okay. It's just a robot.
Is it though?
Well, an attempt was made, and that's
An
what
attempt
counts.
was made. A winner is you.
I just have to agree and say sorry. In the pit you go. Bye.
The cake gets to go in the arena in the sky.
The cake with can we say the cake, and on the cake we can put one of the board game pieces. But
Yeah, there you go. They can survive in the annals, but yeah, you know my thoughts.
I don't think we'll ask any further, do we?
That is an 0-3
Excellent.
to Bolt from the Blue, which is exactly what we're looking for, I think. And Bolt from the Blue, it's going down, way down. That was quite a condemnation from you guys.
Does it go further than Warhog and Detonator? Because I feel they deserve to be higher than it.
You're gonna start a pit hierarchy now.
I will if I have to.
What, Mitch? We can't have the pit and then the lower pit.
I'll invent.
Well, actually, in our live stream we did a few weeks back, Sam Taylor, team ruler, suggested it'd be a really good idea to have a position called on the screws. We can't decide. Screw it. We're just going to put it here and just say it's on the screws.
Screw it. I get it.
I think this podcast is way too contentious for us to ever just sit something on the fence. We're far too opinionated for that.
Oh yeah. That's true.
Who would like to go next?
I could totally go next.
Go ahead.
So I have brought to the table a robot that I consider a fantastic robot. Now, audience, you're thinking, but we're talking about crap robots. No. We're talking about crap flippers. And Warrior Clan from BattleBots was an amazing spinner. It was not a flipper.
Was it though?
I'd say it was a spinner.
Reira, right? Are you ready? 3, 2, 1,
I
go.
am more than ready. Alright, okay, so I am not the biggest Hierachy fangirl, to get the point out there to start with. I love the Hierachy robots, but I don't, swoon over Son of Hierachy every time it's on the screen. But Warrior Clan seemed like a complete detraction from everything else they've done. Like, we're a good way into the new season of BattleBots, and we've seen Hydra, and holy hell, I've never seen a flipper quite like it. And we've seen a Falcon, which I really put down when I first saw it, because I thought it looked really dumb, but now that we've actually seen it in action, it is really beefy. But Warrior Clan, I get that the Hierachy team like to do something a bit different and wacky and see if it works, but flipper powered by your spinner is never going to be as effective as you want it to be. All the opponent needs to do is get you near enough to a wall, spin you down, and then you can't even use the flipper either. Having both weapons, super cool. Having a flipper and a spinner, that's, a novel concept, it's really cool, but why did they have it powered by the spinner? Like, the Warrior Clan dealt a little bit of damage in some of its fights. I mean, it took out some chunks of Ghost Raptor, quite fondly remember that. But it never really flipped anything, not that I can recall. I assume Oliver can fact-check this at some point, but genuinely, I think that if we're talking about crap, we have to bring a flipper that never flipped. I think I can leave my point there. I'm happy to open it to debate.
I mean, it did get a few flips in, but let's see what everyone else has to say before I fact check you too hard on that.
I mean,
Sam,
you
you're
go
the
first.
guest.
Okay, so I thought it flipped Nightmare.
It used its wedge to knock over Nightmare.
That counts.
No, it does not! Rotator could do that. New version of Rotator could do that, and I'm not calling Rotator a flipper anytime soon.
I think it flipped Splatter as well in the what's it Rumble? One of the Rumble, or was it in the its actual fight?
Right, I rewatched these fights earlier, and I'm going to back Ray up here because the Nightmare flip was, I think, just the fact Nightmare got unbalanced and Warrior turned it over, a bit like Firestorm and Mr. Psycho. And then the Splatter thing, honestly, I would say that was Splatter's disc that caused it to imbalance. I could not see the flipper fire at all. So it's a rather strange thing.
I mean, it's... yeah. I don't know what to say, really. I mean, it's as Reira rightly pointed out, I think it's a fantastic machine.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not putting down Warrior Clan as a machine. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the level of engineering in that thing is just scary. I mean, the fact that it's so small as well is ridiculous.
Surely the same could be said for any Wii. The level of engineering that goes into them is insane. And I mean, Hydra is the absolute epitome.
Yeah, absolutely.
As I said at the start of this, it's not a crap robot, but it's a fucking awful flip.
I think the problem with it as well is, obviously, it relies on its, as you say, I think it relies on its spinner as well, way too much for it to, for the flipper to work.
Its spinner has to be spinning for the flipper to... I cannot remember for the life of me how the hell that worked, but that was what I remember very clearly from the commentary. Yeah,
it builds up... I think it might be spring power. I can't remember, but it's something to do with like building up energy in the disc and then releasing it through the flipper. It's weird.
Don't do that.
I'm struggling to defend it here.
Well, okay, I'm going to step in and I'm not going to trash it, but I'm not a Warrior Clan fan. I will be honest. I think the idea is there, but this might sound a bit of a weird thing to say. There's engineering, and then there's over-engineering. And this is an opinion of mine, where I feel like you take a robot that has had so much work put into it, so much engineering, so much money, and it's got such a fantastic idea, and then it just doesn't do what it's meant to do. And I feel that's the case with a lot of Warrior Clan's fights. Yes, the spinner spun round. Yes, okay, maybe the flipper flicked up a few times, but I really do not recall it flipping anything. And in essence, I don't remember a lot of Warrior Clan's fights. I find them pretty dull. Like, Nightmare was doing fairly well against Warrior Clan from what I saw earlier. Ghost Raptor controlled it fantastically until Warrior just started started smoking and stopped working.
Warrior took a few chunks out of Ghost Raptor to give them the tiny credit.
Yeah, but it does the damage. It does, if it hits in the right place. Yeah, damage is there, but it doesn't do much. And I feel that Warrior Clan is rather underwhelming. There's been a similar design, not in terms of engineering, but I guess in terms of the flipper spinner with Revenge of Trouble and Strife, which I think's it's a different take on it.
Yeah.
But both of them didn't really work.
Real bringing up Revenge of Trouble and Strife.
It's a kind of a reach. It's kind of.
I get what you mean. Like it's similar in a sense where you've got the flipper at the front and then a spinner at the back sort of thing, but like a full body spinner sort of thing.
It's a bizarre combination.
Yeah. That's like I think I can neatly sum it up as it's very interesting, but it's not very effective.
Yes.
How about that?
I think that's the best way to describe Warrior Clan. It's interesting, but effective.
And the thing is that I can't sit here and say that this is, the Hierachy boys are absolutely awful. Look how terrible they are, because that's not what I'm saying in any way. I think that even the greatest builders brain fart, and I believe that to be critical, I believe that may be what a poor Warrior is. A Hierachy boys going, look at us, we could build a spinner that powers a flipper, and then realizing, oh god, what have we done?
Why? Oh god, why? It's I think that's pretty much all I have to say about it, really.
I mean, as someone in the UK heavyweight scene to a degree, so, like, are wacky designs ever something that can actually find ground and be successful, or is it the sort of case where the wackier the design, the more likely it is a successful robot?
I mean, I like to think we do okay, but yeah, I mean, there's a meta for a reason, right?
For our listeners at home, Sam Elliott is also on probably one of the coolest UK heavyweights of all time, Two-Headed Death.
You're too kind. You're too kind.
One of my favourites.
Thank you. That's yeah. That really means a lot.
The king of the waggle stick defense.
I mean, I know I'm refereeing here, and I am supposed to be impartial, but this does bring up something that I did mention in our Twitch stream last week, as of the recording of this episode, and that is how because we've got such an influx of those in China, in America, and yeah, sadly, Robot Wars is no longer with us. But for the time that we had Robot Wars, because they are, selection committee open competition like the original BattleBots series, you have to do something a bit wacky, a bit different, a bit out there.
Yeah.
And more of a chance of getting in. And even if it falls completely flat, then bring up robots like, well, since we're on the new series of BattleBots, like Hydra with a hydraulically powered flipper, and like the Sawbots that are slowly sort of taking over the metas across various different weight classes.
Scorpios is terrifying.
It makes different ideas more widespread. So I was watching a panel from DragonCon that had been uploaded to YouTube a couple of weeks ago with, I think it was Charles Guan, Lisa, and the guy behind Ronin, whose name escapes me off the top of my head. And they were talking about how Robot Combat had kind of become a game of rock, paper, scissors, with your wedge beats your spinner beats your flipper, and your flipper beats your wedge. And they were coming up with all kinds of ways to try and break out of this loop, and maybe add ramps in the arena or have a sportsman class. And really, I think what time has shown since having season 3, season 4 of the reboot of BattleBots, having series 10 of Robot Wars, that all the sport needs is just a variety of interesting and quirky designs brought to TV and given a chance to succeed. And maybe they'll fail on TV, maybe they'll do really well, but either way, somebody might see that idea and think, I can take that and run with it and do something completely wild and different. And now I certainly think, looking at the BattleBots lineup, the kind of winners that we're getting, the 4-wheel drive vertical spinner is still fairly dominant, but you're getting wins from all kinds of different robots in all kinds of different mad and interesting ways. I mean, Mammoth is probably the best example of this. And I think, like I say, although I'm a referee and I'm supposed to be impartial, I think we should give Warrior Clan credit for being something different.
Absolutely.
In a world where bots needed to diversify, and that's sort of the point I'm trying to make.
But I think that compared to other Hierachy robots, I think that Warrior Clan was compared in that sense, and in the sense of the episode we're currently. I think my point still stands. The fact, at the end of the day, crap.
Absolutely, I know. I do agree with that. Let's bring it to voting.
Yeah. Yep. Mitch, after you. I went first to describe this time.
Okay, well, I think honestly, the idea is there, and yes, it's different, and yes, it's unique, but unfortunately, I can't support Warrior Clan enough in terms of how it's performed. So, unfortunately, and it's kind of with a heavy heart, that I have to send Warrior Clan into the Pit of Oblivion.
For me, it's a case of if this was just purely about robots, I'd say this is getting saved every day of the week. However, because this is specifically about the worst flippers, the flipper on it isn't the best. I think I think the spinner is probably more effective than the flipper, even though it's meant to be the other way around. Much like Mitch, with a heavy heart for me, I'd say if we talked earlier about the scale of the pit, I think it's right at the top of the pit, but it's certainly in the pit still. So sadly for Warrior, whatever you want to call it, it's in the pits just about.
I'm gonna finalize a second 0-3. And stick to my gun at the very beginning of this. Again, Warrior Clan is a fantastic robot and is a fantastic spinner, but it's not a flip.
Well.
Okay, so as you say, we've got 2 0-3s so far this episode. Doing pretty well then. Mitch, can you make it a 3-0 for 0-3s?
Well, to be honest, I think we are going to very easily. I am ready to talk about my robot.
Oh, I'm ready to.
There's not much to say about it, but hey, what the hell.
Your time starts now.
Right, well, I'm talking about the Robot Wars Extreme competitor, Mastiff. Now, I remember this robot, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. It's become a joke on this podcast. It's the face. The face of this robot is probably the most redeeming factor it has, because, my God, it does not do much in its World Championship melee. It fights Chaos 2, Manta, and Ansgar. Of course, Chaos 2, a 2-time champion of Robot Wars, and Manta, which is a fantastic... Well, no, it's not so good in Robot Wars, but based on Ultraviolence, I believe. I don't know if Ultraviolence was before or after. Mastiff is an extremely steep wedge with a very thin flipper. It can get stuck on its back. It's meant to have spikes to stop it from falling on its side, but we didn't really see it in action because, well, it ended up being pitted, and honestly, it just wasn't very memorable. Like I said, the face is the best thing about this robot. And to throw in something else, the teams from Italy, they were representing Italy. They couldn't even speak English, the poor team. So the Craig Charles and Julia Reed couldn't even interview them. And so they were like, said a few words, and that was it. So that's all I've got to say about this very short-lived robot. And I'm winning up to whatever small debate we've got.
Oh dear. Oh, Mastiff. Oh dear.
There's a lot to unpack here.
Where do I start? I've never seen someone look a flipper and go, do you know what that needs to be? Extremely steep. Like 45 degrees plus. Because no robot's going up that.
Oh.
I do like the fact that it was the heaviest robot there, because it certainly looked it as well. But, oh boy, it's, you say there's a lot to unpack, but there really isn't much. It had one terrible fight. It got bullied by Chaos 2 as well.
I mean, to be fair, Chaos 2 missed it and drove into the pit itself.
Yeah, this robot beat Chaos 2. How about that? So for that reason,
do you know what? That's a really valid point.
And we should also bear in mind that this was the first robot that Chaos 2 targeted. Of the other three in the arena, maybe George Francis saw it as the biggest threat.
I can see why. I mean, have you seen it? Jesus Christ. I wouldn't mess with that lad.
Did you forget your glasses? Or was it just because it's an absolute unit? Because I was going to say, I'm going to give it that point. The one thing I'd like to say about this robot is it's a fucking unit. Like, bear in mind, like, you don't really, until you get into sort of going and seeing the live scene and things, being a fan from the TV show, it's sometimes kind of hard to understand how big these robots really are. When you then first get into the idea of seeing how big these robots are, you realise, oh fuck, they're actually massive. Chaos 2 is really chonky. Now, remember how big Mastiff looks to Chaos 2? Mastiff is fucking huge!
It's over a metre tall, or long. I can't remember. I think it's long.
It's a right-angled triangle, so both?
Big boy. Yeah, basically.
Mammoth when?
Yeah, Mammoth's taller than, well, probably about the same height as me. Do you know what? I'm going to defend Mastiff to the hills.
What?
No! Why?
Okay,
How?
So,
For beating Chaos 2, and that's it.
So one, there's that. Two, okay, apparently it was listed as being unable to self-write, and yet it did self-write once. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not that impressive, but when you consider that a lot of flippers couldn't self-write, I think that's, something in its favour. I mean, Chaos 1 couldn't self-write, and George Francis had already been building robots for over a year. This is a new machine from a country that has no heritage in robot combat. So they self-righted on their first attempt.
As far as I know, it still doesn't as well. I don't think Italy has a massively fantastic...
Yeah. From what I understand, I think that's it was this and Zeus, was it, in the European Championships?
Zeus.
And that was it.
Interestingly, both robots lost to a German robot.
They did indeed. But with Mastiff as well, okay, yes, it's a bit special. Yes, it's very tall and it has that, face of sheer joy.
That amazing.
This is where I thought we'd lose Mitchell. Of course, it's got a face. Mitchell's biased.
There's nothing wrong with the face, but the fact that they were able to self-right and it worked.
I don't think that's a good enough excuse.
No, I think it is.
That's a fucking participation medal if I ever fucking heard of one.
Listen, there are robots out there with flippers, such as Chaos 1. I'll think of some more in a second. Give me a sec. They did have flippers and couldn't self-right. And I think if we're talking about worse flippers, this therefore can't be one of them because it actually worked. Right? That's my thinking behind it.
He has a point.
It's such a stretch. It's such a stretch.
It's not a stretch. That's fairly legit.
I will just say, Mastiff kind of reminds me a bit of Juggernaut in terms of...
Yes. No, it does. Now, if you want to talk about big boys, Juggernaut is a big boy.
Oh, he's a unit right there.
Chunky lad.
And this is around the same time as Austin Powers, right? So this is literally Fat Bastard. Like, this is Fat Bastard in robot form.
Get in
perfect.
Get in my belly.
Oh.
You know what? I was ready to pit this thing, but you know what? I think Sam's got a point.
I honestly think there are, for example, Juggernaut 2. It's got a flipper, it just didn't work.
No,
you're not going to be able to swing me this easily.
I tell you what, there are worse machines. Okay, as well as this, okay, you say it got bullied. Look at the competition standard it's against. Chaos 2, who are 2 times UK champions at this point. Manta,
right.
who is a very impressive US machine.
Yeah.
Ansgar.
Yeah, they'd entered both BattleBots and Robotica, hadn't they? And done pretty well in both, as far as I remember.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I sympathise that Mastiff had a terrible draw and ended up against probably in the hardest melee.
Honest to your heart, Sam, do you think if it had been drawn up against, I don't know, let's shoot myself in the foot, if it had been drawn up against a Napalm, you really think it would have won?
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
You really think so? With that people edge?
Napalm's ground clearance was a yawning chasm. That would have just drove straight under it. I'm convinced.
Napalm doesn't even have any way to self-right. It would just I've got my axe thing. I've fallen. I can't get up.
I seem to remember it being not fast, but it moved around with some brisk pace. It moved.
It wasn't a slow rope.
Yeah, I think. Okay, I think in any of the rounds in the World Championship, it would have struggled. I'll be honest with you. It would have either faced Firestorm, Razor, or Tornado. So it's probably going to lose any which way you look at it. But was it the worst machine with a flipper? I don't think so. I think it deserves a little bit of respite for being what it was, which was Genesis. Imagine this is in Series 1 of Italian Robot Wars, let's say. You have to compare that to what we had in UK Robot Wars Series 1. And it's just way better.
You know,
All right, okay, do you know what? That's a really fair point.
And if you compare it, and I can't believe I'm saying this, if you compare it to Bolt from the Blue and Warrior Clan, right? Now, hear me out. Bolt from the Blue could lift 2 to 6 times, and that was dependent on whatever was inside the robot. And that was a lifter. That was a very slow lifter. It was slow. We don't know if it was able to self-right because we never really saw Bolt from the Blue.
Not a chance.
No.
Not a chance.
Warrior Clan has a flipper, barely used it, and relied more on the spinner. If this is a robot about the worst flippers, then I can't believe I'm saying this. I think Mastiff has got the best chance out of all 3 of them.
How have we gone from just absolutely battering Mastiff to saying, you know what, actually, it's not that bad?
Mitchell, you know you were supposed to bring this robot with the intention of putting it in the pit.
You know what? I was going to, but now that Sam's made this point, I'm actually looking at making it go to the arena.
Mitchell has a history of turning his back on what he originally intended.
Now, hang on. I'm not turning my back on it this time. I'm not turning my back. I'm turning towards it, going, you know what? I've seen the light. Hello.
Mitchell's seen the light.
I'm seeing the Lord.
The light is Mastiff. This is the true letter. 2020.
You know the Hallelujah Ray Billings you did for my episode 2, was it? Can you do that? Can you do that right now, but with Mastiff in the light? Just to give you more difficulties in editing.
This goddamn flipping 90-degree cheese wedge is actually going to survive this. I love it.
But let's find out. Do we have
Oh,
any other points for or against Mastiff before we go to voting?
No.
Reira sounds so disappointed.
I'm never going to be invited back, am I?
I think I'll be
Did you
joining.
say that? I'm sat here giggling to myself. I have one request before we get to voting. I would like to vote last, please.
Let's call it then. Sam, as you've been such a strong supporter of this robot, where are you going to fall?
Okay, so don't get me wrong. This thing is a piece of hot garbage. It really is. But it's not the worst flipper, and because of that, I'm going to defend it from the Pit of Oblivion, just like Chaos 2 did.
How is Mastiff going to go to the arena?
We'll find out. Mitchell, has your mind been swung?
I can't believe I'm saying this. I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm bringing Mastiff. It's complete and total garbage, but Sam's let me see the light, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm putting it in the arena. It's
Yes,
not
please.
the worst.
No.
Why?
Uh,
Why?
It's inevitable now, Reira.
I'd like to formally apologise to all the viewers out there for allowing Mastiff to survive.
So before I put my vote out there, I just want to send a look to future Reira, who's currently monitoring the chat. So I'm sorry that you're about to get lambasted.
Now they're going to
Fuck
agree.
it, it's going to
chat
the
are gonna love
arena.
it.
Fuck
Yes!
it, it's going to the arena, and it's
Oh
getting
my
a 3-0.
Let's go. Let's
I
go.
can't believe this. This is amazing.
As Craig Charles often says, the results from the judges are in, and it's controversial.
That's all from ESC. I'm Xing out.
It's not even a split decision.
Although I feel that this is on for Mitchell, because you were supposed to bring a shit flipper, and apparently you bought a
you know
3-0 victory worthy flipper.
You know what? This is the thing, right? I brought this robot with the full intention, and I looked at it as a terrible robot. But you know, I feel like we've all won here. We've realised that this robot wasn't as bad as what we thought, and we're all winners at the end of the day. Let's rejoice. We've all seen the light.
I'd like to make a request to Charlie of Good Robotal. Can this be in the BattleBots 2019 pack?
Yes.
Oh my god!
Like, if you're out there, Charlie, please put it in there just for a little Easter egg for me. Thank you.
Mastiff is the new god of Shuntposting.
I can't wait for this episode to end.
Yes. Yes. I need it to
I
happen.
started the Agrolution. I will start the Mastiffonites. I don't know.
Mastiffonites! Oh no.
Mastiff movement?
Yes. I love it.
Mastiff movement. Yeah,
Mastiff,
okay, I guess
Mastiff, there you
that
go.
Mosque of Mastiff?
Oh, we're caught for better name. Every robot's a god in their own right.
Right, okay.
This is pain.
Let's just do a quick recap. So, to begin this episode, Sam bought Bolt from the Blue, and we unanimously put it in the pit at 0-3.
But not the cake.
Not
Or the
Okay.
board game
All the
miniature.
board game miniatures.
Board game miniature survives. That's okay.
Episode on Robot Wars board game miniatures coming up at some point.
We'll be doing an episode on just Robot Wars board game miniatures. Not the robots they're based on, just the miniatures.
Hell yeah.
Next up, Reira bought Warrior Clan, Warrior Dragon, whatever you want to call it. And again,
It's Warrior Clan!
it was a unanimous decision to send it to the pit on account of that awful flipper that it had. And lastly, in a big surprise, Mastiff has ascended to the sky. 3-0.
Fucking Mastiff.
Yeah, you started
Fucking
this.
man.
I blame you. You changed my mind.
We wrap this up then. Any social plugs before we go?
If you want to listen to some hot garbage from myself, and the Mastiff Massive, be sure to check out my channel, SamElliott64, and the Robocast. And my podcast, The Robocast, on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube.
Spotify is where I listen to it. It's really good. I listen to it at work.
Thank you. I don't. I hate it.
Oh, that's actually kind of funny. Like, I do listen, but I do genuinely actually listen back to ESC every now and again. I kind of like it, and then I hear my voice and go, yes, I sound like trash.
I've done this now for 3 years, and it just doesn't get any easier. I'm just there.
Thanks for the confidence.
No, it's not. I don't know how to describe it, but I just can't do it.
It's difficult hearing your own voice. I agree.
Yeah. Of course.
I have to edit it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I edit mine. It's just like no.
Honestly, Sam, thank you so much for coming on. It has been such a time.
I've really enjoyed this. Please have me back.
Yeah,
I
we
would
would love
to.
to have you back.
To do our own social plugs as well, you can find me in the normal places, which is Team Roll Initiative Robotics. We've got a bit of a top secret project going on at the moment, which may have been announced by this point. I'm sure you've seen my really annoying cryptic posts about who is Ariadne. Though all of that will become clear soon. Also, you can find me on Reira the Bard on Instagram, TRI Robotics, I think, on Instagram, or Team Roll Initiative, whatever it may be, and on Shuntposting as the moderator with all the, opinions.
You can find me as the York Corp on YouTube and Twitch, and you'll probably find me poking my head around Shuntposting as well. I'm not very exciting. Sorry.
Insta when?
Soon, don't rush me. I've been a very busy boy, all right?
For all the hard work that he puts in. There is an ESC Facebook page. I encourage you to go and find it. You'll get teasers as to the robots we're going to be discussing, behind the scenes stuff, and just general promos, and all the news will be found there.
And fan art now.
Thanks, Owain from Rough Dougal, the Rough
yes.
Dougal recreation for his wonderful fan art. We love it.
Thank you, Mr. Tent Jester.
I am, as everyone else, around Robot Wars Shuntposting. Created the event Storm the BBC to hashtag bring back Robot Wars. They can't stop us all.
Can I just say, created Meme of the Week event. Modmin's Choice Meme of the Week event.
Thank you. And lastly, my robotic Facebook page, Motte and Bailey. It's got some very exciting stuff coming up because I am in the final testing of my robot Crossblow, and there will be a test video up very, very soon, if not already by the time this podcast has aired. Just about wraps it up for this week. We will be back again in 2 weeks' time with another brand new episode and with another guest. Join us all then, and have a great 2 weeks. Until then, goodbye from me, Oliver.
Goodbye from me, Empress Reira.
Goodbye from me, Mitch, and our guest.
Goodbye from me, SamElliott64.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Mastiff Massive.
Mastiff Massive.
Now recording.
Cheers, mate.
We're keeping that in the fucking episode. Alright, whenever you're ready, Oliver, if you want to lead off.